Hey there, friends. It's really good to be back with you. My name is Reverend Alan Cowley. I'm the pastor of the new church at Boynton Beach down in South Florida. And we are continuing on with another installment of our series on the Ten Commandments. Today we're looking at the Third Commandment, which is remembering the Sabbath day. And just to jump right in, I'd like to start off by actually encouraging you to think of a state of absolute peace and harmony. Maybe after you had a really, long day at work and you get to come home and just that feeling of rest afterwards, or maybe you had just completed a really long-term project and you get to see the final product and it just brings you a sense of peace and you have a chance to rest. And with that in mind, we begin actually with a lesson from the work Arcana Celestia, or Heavenly Secrets, and this is number 88 and 90, kind of talking about some of this peace for a person in heaven. It says, when a person is in heaven, he is free from all apprehensiveness, uneasiness, and anxiety. And when free from these, blessedness is his. So that's what heaven's about, right? Free from apprehensiveness, uneasiness, and anxiety, and then so we have blessedness. What a beautiful image. And yet it seems like it's talking about just people in heaven. And what I want to talk about today is how when we really are doing our job or our work, our labor in doing this commandment properly, that it actually helps to bring that lack of anxiety or take away that anxiety, the uneasiness, and it does bring us a sense of blessedness. And we're going to get back to a similar reading in there a little bit later. Let's read this commandment from Exodus chapter 20. It starts in verse 8. And it says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all of your work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it." So this is a great one. As a pastor, I like to be able to sit there and I can say, well, see, you're supposed to be coming to church on Sundays. It's a commandment. We got you. I mean, how many of us have skipped a week of church? Got you. You're breaking the commandments, right? Is that what this is all about? Let's even make it harsher, because later on in Exodus in chapter 35, Moses is reminding them of this commandment, and this sounds really rough. It says, "And Moses gathered all of the congregation of the children of Israel together and said to them, 'These are the words which the Lord has commanded you to do. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the seventh day shall be a holy day for you, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death.'" Really? Just start rounding people up now, right? Wow, put to death. That puts a little bit of weight on this commandment. What could that possibly mean? And what's up with this 6 days of labor and then the 1 day of rest that makes it holy to God? Well, if we look at that commandment, it talks about why this is important. It says, "For in 6 days the Lord created the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and then rested on the seventh." So it's a reference back to creation, or the creation story. But in the new church, we understand that creation story to really be about recreating our spirit, or being reborn, going from being merely human to being truly human, to being a spiritual being. And that process, that 6 days, represents all of our work, all of our labor in being reborn or reformed. So that's what these 6 days of labor is really all about. And then what's beautiful about this seventh day is that once that labor is complete, then there is rest. There is that blessedness that we were talking about. Let's hear a little bit more about these 6 days of labor. What kind of labor are we talking about? Because it doesn't sound like we're talking about our daily jobs anymore. This is the work True Christian Religion, or True Christianity, number 302, saying that the spiritual meaning in the spiritual meaning, this commandment refers to our being reformed and regenerated by the Lord. The 6 days of labor mean battling against the flesh and its cravings, and also against evils and falsities that are in us from hell. The 7th day means our becoming connected to the Lord and our being regenerated as a result. As long as this battle continues, we have spiritual labor. But when we have been regenerated, we rest. The Lord's goal with all of us is to reform us, because almost everything that we do is very centered on self. That's just kind of our native state. I mean, you might think about an infant, and all they really do care about is the attention that is given them, the food that they need. Like, it's a very selfish existence that we are born into. And what the Lord is trying to do with us is to shift our attention away from self, take care of ourselves, but to look at others. And the way that the Lord tries to do this is to give us true ideas about how to serve Him and serve our neighbor, and that's true ideas, and to get us to do it with a good intent or a good will. So the idea is actually trying to marry these concepts of what is true with a good will or a good intention towards other people. And many times throughout the writings of the new church, it talks about this marriage of goodness and truth that is what makes heaven. Now, the problem is that that marriage can only exist after we have dispelled falsities, after we have kind of overcome some of our inclinations towards evils of every kind. So this labor that the Lord is talking about, that 6 days of labor, is our work in rejecting what is false and evil and trying to put together what is true and good. And that takes effort, takes a lot of effort on our part, but it is really also the Lord doing it with us. So I want to go back to our work Arcana Celestia and read a little bit more. This is back in 8888, talking more about this conflict. Furthermore, by the conflict which comes before and is preparatory to that heavenly marriage, that marriage of goodness and truth, one should understand spiritual conflict or temptation. For before a person enters into the heavenly marriage, that is, before being regenerated, he is involved in conflict with evils and falsities residing within him. These have to be removed before truth and good from the Lord can be received. They are removed, those evils and falsities, by means of the truths of faith. For a person not only learns through those truths what is good, but is also led to good by means of them. This state is the first that a person who is being regenerated passes through. It is called the state which comes before and is preparatory to the heavenly marriage. But when the person is governed by good and is led by the Lord by means of good, he has entered into the heavenly marriage, and so is in heaven, since the heavenly marriage is heaven. So we were talking about in that passage before that when a person is in heaven, he is free from all apprehensiveness, uneasiness, and anxiety, and then has blessedness. So we can actually be in heaven through this. Isn't that powerful? That this work that we can be doing, the combating against the evils and falsities within our own self, is actually going to result in that blessedness, the blessedness of heaven, that heavenly marriage that takes away that anxiety, that uneasiness, the unrest. You know, the word Sabbath actually means rest and the peace that we feel from it. This is what the Lord wants for all of us. He wants us to feel his blessedness and peace. And it says in the Gospels that he is the Lord of the Sabbath. He is the one that brings us that peace. So this is a very important commandment to be thinking of. And what I want to kind of close with is the idea of that first word, remember the Sabbath day. This is, pretty much the only commandment that kind of doesn't have that thou shalt not. This is kind of the positive one. It says, remember the Sabbath day. And if we're thinking about remembering, it's actually talking about a perpetual remembrance. And that perpetual remembrance is actually constantly thinking in our daily lives, how are we working in this moment? How are we laboring in this moment to dispel what is wrong in our lives by means of the truths that the Lord gives us in his word? How are we then trying to link that into something good? It's kind of having this perpetual remembrance of our purpose is to serve the Lord and serve our neighbor, and that joy and blessedness can come from that. So there's so much that we could get into, including all of the stuff about, all of the sons and daughters, manservant and maidservant, and the livestock not working on the Sabbath. But I think we'll have to leave that to another time. But for right now, let's just bow our heads and we'll close with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Well, thanks again for joining us here on the New Church channel. It would be great if you enjoy these videos that you do. Please like and subscribe, and maybe share it with another friend of yours. And if you'd like more information, you can also go to our website, newchurch.org, and see more resources there. But for right now, I hope you have a wonderful week. See you next week.